than the others, but hang on. Another scavenger. Look, here comes a hyena. The lions have moved off. Wow. This is amazing. Now, what I think would have happened is this hyena probably would have seen the vultures descending, and that would have given it an idea that the lions have moved off. But if you look at that carcass, look how clean those bones have been picked. Aulia, you asked if the vultures ever get eaten by other or by predators. I've never seen it, Aulia. I've never seen it. Excuse me a second. I just want to jump on the radio quickly. Good morning. Before there's a vulture feeding activity at this buffalo carcass and a single hyena, one of the males moved in a northerly direction, I think either towards Gallagher Pan or to Vulture Dam. I'm not sure. I've lost visual of him now. Copy that. Sorry, Sensor. And here comes another hyena. There we go. So, as I was saying, I think the hyena would have seen the vultures descending. Oh wow! What's this? Hyena's chasing the vultures around. But this is very interesting. The one hyena is very curious and very careful. Wants to have a look. Where are the lions? Wants to make sure there's no threat or danger. Molly, you asked, how do the vultures know where the carcasses are? Well, Molly, you basically get two types of vultures. Old world vultures. Look at the hyena go. Old world vultures and new world vultures. Now the old world vultures are these types of vultures. Wow, this is amazing. The old world vultures rely on their eyesight, so they would see these carcasses, they would have seen the lions, and remember, this buffalo carcass was right out in the open in the beginning, so they would have seen this buffalo carcass, and what happens is the vultures, their eyesight is incredible. They will be able to spot, something the size of a A4 piece of paper, probably from about 2 kilometers away in the air. So with them circling, I mean, their eyesight, they'd see a buffalo carcass very easily from far away. They would then come down, and as they descend, other vultures further away would see the vultures coming in. That's one of the theories behind the white-backed vultures having that white marking on the back, so they can follow one another to carcasses. They can see each other from long distances away, and those vultures will then descend from all over and come in and hopefully try and get some food. So there really is absolutely, or just about absolutely nothing left of that carcass. It has fed the lions very well for 3 days, and now the vultures have got a little bit to feed on, and they probably will feed on some more. Even the hyena are getting a little bit of the carcass. So a lot of animals benefiting from this kill. The vultures getting too close to them while they're trying to eat. Nikki, I've never seen a vulture feed on so much meat that it can't fly anymore. I've never seen that. I see there are 2 more hyena behind us. So a lot of hyena have moved in where the carcass was originally, which is about 50 meters away. 50, 60 meters away. 2 other hyena. Just back there, you might just see them. There they are, moving off with scraps. That's where the original, where the kill was originally, and the lions dragged it under this tree. But now there's very little left, and watch the hyena still chasing the vultures. This is amazing interaction. In this area, I can hear baboons alarm calling, and I'm assuming that those baboons probably see the lions. Which looks like a younger hyena, and I think it's having a bit of fun actually chasing these vultures. Listen to that hyena crunching that carcass, breaking those bones. And watch those powerful jaws going to work. Ali, you asked why they don't eat that buffalo hide. Well, Ali, that buffalo hide is quite tough, and it's basically, I mean, it's leather, so it's not very pleasant at all for them to feed on, and I think that's mainly why they don't feed on it. There's nothing to gain from eating the buffalo hide, so they'll try to get the bone, they'll try to get whatever meat is left. There's a lot of nutrients in the bone, but nothing really in the buffalo hide. They might eat bits and pieces of it, but those jaws are so powerful. I'm just going to move forward slightly. Sorry, just roll forward here. There we go. That's a bit better. Let's see, it looks like there is another hyena that was making its way in this direction. Let's see if it does join. I think it will. Crunching. I'm trying to tear some of that sinew that is around the joints. But notice how the hyena constantly look around, just making sure those male lions don't appear again. Stick around for a few more minutes, and then we'll see if we can find one of those males. I'm not sure where they went. I'm sure they went to go and drink some water. But let's head across to Scott in the Mara, and apparently he also has some vultures. That's so great that James had that huge elephant bull in the Mara. I'm very jealous. Now we've had there now 5 hyena that were running around. There are 3 that we can see on the carcass now. There were 1 or 2 that ran off in different directions. So, but there were 5 here altogether. At least they're getting a little bit of food from this carcass. The vultures are now waiting patiently. So it's just really interesting interaction that we haven't seen for quite some time. So this is wonderful to see. Christy, you asked, are there nutrients in the bones? Yes, indeed there are, definitely. Calcium, phosphorus, a lot of nutrients in the bones. There's bone marrow that they'll be feeding on. I think that's actually what that hyena has got there now. Hear the bones crunching and those powerful jaws of the hyena going to work. Still chasing the vultures. Interesting. The hyena was snapping at the vulture, but I've never seen one actually grab a vulture. I don't think they're interested in eating them, and we spoke about that earlier. Much better feeding on that on the carcass. Netta, you asked if the lions or scavengers eat the eyes off the animals. Yes, indeed. The buffalo, the eyes were eaten by the lions. We did see them, they did feed on that. And part of the face too, some of the softer meat around the face. If you have a look at that carcass, just look at those ribs, how they've been cleaned by the vultures. Some of the vertebrae were picked completely clean. Nothing goes to waste out here. You can see a hooded vulture over there. Also, the hyena are very, very powerful. I've seen them carry and drag away big see 4 hyena in the... you should be able to see 4 hyena at this carcass. Wow, look at this one on the right. It's got part of the vertebra in its mouth. Carrying it away. It's nice to see all these hyena together. I haven't seen so many adults together for quite some time. Well, I haven't. As I said, there are five hyena around at the moment. We can only see 4 of them. There is one to the back that was feeding on a little bit of a carcass. That was amazing. You see that? Mouth open, running at us. Chasing the vulture. Breezy, you asked, what is the average amount of hyena in a clan? And Breezy, I think it ranges from 2 or 3 hyena up to 20 or 25, if not more, in certain parts of Africa. Can get some really large clans. So it varies, Breezy, completely depending on the area, amount of food, amount of competition. I was hoping we'd get more vocalization from these hyena. Hear those wonderful sounds that they can make when they do get excited. Perhaps they also don't want to attract attention. They do know there have been big male lions around, so they would be cautious. There we go, all 5 hyena now. Just as there we go. Just as I mentioned, vocalizing, they do it for us. Isn't that amazing? Now, that was great, Senzo. So the hyena can make a number of different calls. Always nice to hear that whooping sound of the hyena. Now, VJ, you asked, are the hyena more closely related to the canine or feline family? And so, more recent studies have shown that they're actually more closely related to cats. If you go back and how they've evolved, apparently they are more closely related to cats than to dogs or canines, which is interesting. It doesn't look like it, does it? Oh, that's a big hyena. And the one to the right, very, very large. To be honest, I find it very difficult to tell the difference between male and female hyena. I think that one on the right is actually a female. The females are bigger than the males, but also the females have false male genitalia. Oh, the lions are roaring, everyone. Sounds like a Gallagher pan. Somewhere around there. One down, probably. We've had such a nice sighting of these hyena, and I know all of you enjoy seeing the hyena and the scavengers around and all the vultures, but we might try and go and see if we can find those lions. Maybe we get them roaring for us just now again. And as I was saying, with male and female hyena, it's quite difficult. Female hyena have false male genitalia because they are much larger and more dominant than the males. And the reason for that is because it's a matriarchal society. Wow, these hyena are having fun chasing these vultures. So the females are more dominant and bigger. The other reason is for them to protect their cubs from males. Sometimes males may come in and kill cubs if they don't belong to them, or if it's competition. Alright, I think why don't we move on and let's see if we can find those lions while it's still early. Maybe we get some activity from them. Let's go across to James in the Mara, who is also on the search for lions. That's amazing. That Scott's got another serval in the Mara. I'm very jealous. Now we've got the two males in front of us and lying down and resting. They just moved from the pan, so they did have a drink of water, and they moved down, they're drinking, and then there's another male and a single female. I can't see which female it is. I think it's possibly the mother of the cubs, and they just through there, you might not even see them. Quite a thick little area. They're lying down there. I think it is possibly that female, the mother, who came and fed on a bit of the carcass and then decided to have a drink and moved off. But now she's got to try and get rid of another male. Like yesterday morning, she had this one male following her, but eventually she gave him the slip, so that was great. And we got to see those wonderful little cubs. Oh, I think these lions, they are full. They've been drinking. So they are very content at the moment. And I think they're probably going to hang around here. Most likely rest here for most of the day. Now, Brent, you asked if the big cats hunt in the rain. They do indeed, Brent, they do indeed. It actually helps them. They use it to their benefit, because when it's raining, it's difficult for the prey species, like the antelope and that, to pick up on the scent of the predators, for one, and to also hear them. So it gives the predators a bit of an advantage to be able to stalk a lot closer, and especially lion and leopard. And they can stalk a lot closer and ambush their prey. So yes, the rain does benefit them, and they will definitely hunt in the rain. I thought we might get a bit more activity from these lions, but it looks like they are very content at the moment, and most likely just going to stay here. So I wonder, why don't we head back maybe to those vultures? And then I also had an update. It sounds like they had tracks of a young male leopard down on Chitwa. So I might head down there a little bit later too. But let's head back to that buffalo carcass perhaps. See if there's still some hyena and vulture activity around there. It could be interesting. But nice to see the males nonetheless. But only 3 of them here. Like I said, only these 2 males, that one male over there with the female. And then apparently they've got tracks. Someone saw tracks of the other male heading south. So he has already decided to move on. But it was great to see all 4 males together again. The Birmingham males, the dominant male coalition in this area. And always great to see them. So we leave these resting lions, and let's head across to James, who's apparently got a lioness moving through the long grass at the moment. Oh, now he's back at the Hyena and Vultures, and still hyena feeding away at the carcass, so there's still a fair amount of food there for these predators, or scavengers rather. This hyena's still chasing the vultures around. I don't like them getting too close, clearly. Look at all those white-backed vultures patiently waiting to see if they can get some of that food. But as I said, it's great that that so many animals benefit from a kill like this. It's not just the lions, the smaller scavengers, or rather the hyena, and smaller scavengers like vultures, and who knows, there may also have been a white-tailed mongoose or two around last night feeding on a bit of the carcass, or a civet, maybe even a genet would pick up a little piece of meat here or there. Kyle, no, not at all. The hyena are actually very skillful hunters, and they do hunt. But Carl, down here in southern Africa, or in South Africa especially, the hyena, because there's such a large lion and leopard population, the hyena do well at scavenging off of their carcasses. But in East Africa, with huge clans of hyenas, so where James and Scott are at the moment, the hyena there will hunt, most definitely hunt for themselves. And they have to, otherwise they won't eat as much. It's almost like this hyena's doing it for fun, chasing the vultures. Some beautiful light coming through now. Looks like the cloud cover's starting to burn off a bit, which is great. Look at that. Busy sunning their wings, warming up. That vulture was... see, a lot of these vultures probably got quite wet from the rain that we had. Wasn't a lot of rain, but a nice bit of drizzle just to settle some of the dust through the late or early hours of this morning. But look at that. It's amazing. Sunning its wings. Just trying to dry off a bit. And it's a lovely day today, but also another special day. We had Megan's birthday yesterday, but it's Taylor's birthday today. So Taylor is actually on her way to the Mara as we speak. I think she has landed in Kenya. So a very happy birthday to Taylor. And I hope she has an awesome day. Sounds like she's been having a bit of trouble already at the airport. I think with luggage. The joys of travelling through Africa. I hope it all gets sorted. But have a wonderful day, Taylor, from everyone here at Djuma. We're wishing you a very happy birthday, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers will all be wishing you a happy birthday too. Such a little bit longer because there's some wonderful interaction going on here still. But let's head across to Scotty D, who apparently is still sitting with that wonderful serval. I'm very jealous. Excuse me. I've still got vultures. And some of the vultures sunning their wings, trying to dry off a little bit. Hyenas still carrying bits and pieces of the carcass away. Actually, Senzo, have a look just off to my right. Quickly, here comes one hyena. There we go, look at that. Carrying, looks like a hip bone. Actually, is it? I wonder where that is going. The pelvis. Part of the pelvis, I think. Now, I've had questions like this before in the past, and people often ask, well, why don't we see these carcasses more often or more regularly, or why are the bones spread out? Well, there's the answer right there. The hyenas pick and feed, and they'll carry parts of the carcass and different sections of bones and spread it out a lot, and also helps kind of degrade the carcass a little bit. Other little animals will feed on it and that, and you'll see that probably the horns and skull will stay around here, and the rest of the carcass. But you see how lots of it can get carried away because of the hyena and other predators. It's always interesting to see. We've been fortunate. We've seen this scene now from start to finish, and how it's changed, how the carcass has been dragged around by the lions, how the hyenas have fed on it, how the vultures have picked those ribs clean. And like I said, there might still be some other little creatures which benefit off of this kill. Now, Nikki, it's a possibility that hyenas might take bits and pieces back to the den. Sometimes they regurgitate a bit of food too, I think, for the cubs. But they do. They don't take a lot back. They don't take huge pieces of meat in that back. But now and then they'll take the odd bone or little bits and pieces of a carcass. They will carry it back to the den, but it doesn't happen as often as people would think. So you'll only see small bits and pieces of bone around a den, not often big pieces of carcass. I don't think it's a case of the hyena needing more calcium than other animals. The hyena, I think calcium is just a big part of their diet, the calcium and phosphorus from the bones, because they are scavengers. They probably don't get as much meat as the lions do, for example, so slightly different diets, just in terms of the amount of meat and bone in comparison to lion, but I don't think it's a case that they need more calcium than any of the other predators. Remember, lion and leopard will also get calcium and phosphorus from the smaller bones that they crunch on. I think it's just the hyena have evolved to have these very strong, powerful jaws, and they'll feed on some of the bones and crush them and break them. It's not a case of them needing it more than the other predators. asked if the carcass and the bones benefit the bush in any way. No, Michael, I don't think so. And I assume you mean the vegetation. So no, it wouldn't. Out here, the plant material and the trees and that, they get the nutrients and everything they need from the earth itself, from the ground. They don't need what's the word? They don't need fertilizer, put it that way. So the only thing that would benefit were the small insects and that around, and the ecosystem, I suppose, the smaller animals. So from the lions, I suppose the lions, the vultures, the hyena, the insects, other smaller little scavengers will come around, possibly a jackal or two. Those will all benefit from these carcasses, but the bones being scattered around, that doesn't benefit the bush in any way. Well, not in a major way, put it that way. It's not that you're going to get a huge amount of grass growing in this area now because there's been a carcass around. I'm just going to try reposition a little bit for us and see if I can now get a little bit closer. How's that, Senzo? Alright, well, we're going to sit here a little bit longer because this is such a great sighting, something different. And let's head across to James, who's apparently got a very well-hidden lion. And that looks a bit better. Now, these hyena are still busy feeding away, just two of them. Now, some of you were asking if one of the hyena looked pregnant. I'm trying to look around. The one that we saw earlier did have a very large belly, and there's a possibility, but I'm not sure. I didn't have a good look. There was so much going on, but the one did look like it did have a rather large belly, so possibly another pregnant hyena. You can hear those jaws still chewing of that hyena, chewing some of the sinew and the and cartilage. Actually, I think that's what it's into there now, of that buffalo. The hyena are built for this type of feeding, and those very strong jaws, powerful jaws. The hyena's got this really large neck and head. I know James has been touching on the skeletal system and that a little bit of various animals and human beings, but the hyena, those long necks, powerful or very muscular necks, and very large heads. The skulls of the hyena very, very large, but the reason is mainly because there's a lot of muscle which runs actually right around their head, and that helps with those powerful jaws. It gives them the power they need for those jaws to crunch bone. Also the sloping back of the hyena. They've got the shorter back legs, longer front legs. Reason for that again is the power, the powerful front legs carries the heavy muscular neck and head. And also the theory is that this slight slope at the back allows long distance running to be a bit easier. And the hyena they're not known for their speed, but they can cover quite a distance, walking and running around, scavenging, looking for food. You can actually see that bit of a slope in the back. It slopes down towards the hind quarters. vultures were busy sunning themselves, trying to dry those wings off a little bit. It sounds like Scott has got a vulture who's feeling the chill of the Mara. I couldn't agree more with you, Scott. It is important. We spoke about this yesterday and the day before, just taking our time in sightings and investing time in the sightings, and they pay off. And here we've still got the hyena activity. The vultures seem to have decided to rest a little bit. Now, I have never seen this before. Look at this. Vultures completely lying on their backs. There's a number of them. I've seen them lay down on their bellies before, like that one at the back. You can see it's laying on its belly, those two, but not on their backs. This is bizarre. Now, the only thing I can think is perhaps they're trying to get insects to potentially clean the wings. Dust bathing a little bit. But that is very interesting. Now, we were chatting earlier about the bones or the carcasses, and if it benefits the ground and the soil at all, or the vegetation. Now, I know some of you, I think Judy H, you mentioned something about bone meal that gets used for gardens and that. Yes, I know that, but again, I think that is used as a compost. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, isn't something added to that? But then also you sprinkle it across the garden, you water the garden. But some of these bones, when they do degrade, then there is a chance, or biodegrade, there's a chance that they definitely return nutrients into the soil at some point. But I don't think it's on the scale that compost does. And I'm just thinking of when I've seen carcasses around areas that carcasses have been in. For a long time, the ground does not rejuvenate very quickly at all. It takes ages. The reason for that is because of all the feeding activity, all the predators around. A lot of the ground is disturbed, and it takes a very long time for the grass and plant material to recover and regrow in that area. So, yeah, it may return some nutrients, but only in a specific spot. I don't think it benefits the soil as much as we would think it does. Also, if there's just a single bone in one place, it's difficult to say. But yeah, to an extent, it will add some nutrients back. Naturally, of course it would, but not in the sense that you are now going to get massive regrowth in that area because there's been a carcass there. From what I've seen in the past, it's actually the opposite, because a lot of the area is very disturbed from all the movement of predators moving around and feeding, vultures coming down. So that disturbed area takes a long time to actually recover. It is indeed coffee time. Some of you were wondering if I'm having a little coffee break, and perfect time to enjoy some coffee. Although for some reason, I don't know what I did this morning, but this coffee is not tasting as good as it usually does. Anyway, let's head over to James, the king of the Mara, and see what he's up to now. We've still got quite a bit of activity here. The vultures seem to have perked up a little bit and headed closer towards the carcass. But the hyena is still chasing them every now and then. It's amazing to hear this. The large wings of these vultures as they fly past. You see, these vultures are definitely, dust bathing or anting and cleaning their wings. It's a way for them to clean their wings. Andy, you asked, why do the hyenas tolerate the vultures? I don't know, Andy. I have no idea. I think, nature's funny. I think it's because both these species. Oh no, that's terrible. Hold on a second. Crows, everyone. Now that's what we were speaking about the other day. We're not meant to see crows around here, but there's a crow flying above us. There it goes. Let me try to see which one it is. I think it's a pied crow. Yeah, pied crow. I suppose we can add that to the list. It is on the bird list. But the pied crow. Let me just see what they say in the bird app about it. But you see, it is a resident, but I think the crow is actually it's an alien. I think it is considered to be an alien. Not technically meant to be seen out here. Just trying to see if they see anything, if they say anything about the crows. I think they're now considered to be part of the bird list in southern Africa or across Africa. They are found just about everywhere, pied crows. Well, anyway, we've added it to our list now, but let's head across to Scott, who's got another bird. I wonder which one it is. Now, we're still sitting with these hyenas, but for some reason, they darted off. It's almost like they saw something, and here comes that crow. Oh, you can hear a terrible sound. Like I said, I think these crows are meant to be pests. They're not meant to be found in the natural environment or in the game reserves and that. So they are pests. But there it sits regardless. So as I said, these hyena bolted off. Don't know what they thought they saw, but 3 hyena ran away. They clearly very nervous, or still a bit nervous, thinking there might be lions around. I've been scanning, I haven't seen anything. And then as soon as they ran off, the vultures basically ran to that carcass. Vultures then started feeding, and the hyena ran back and chased the vultures off. Again, they don't want to waste anything. Every little part of this carcass is being fed on. Whatever they can find or get to. You asked if the hyena dominance is passed through or passed down through birth. Yes, it is. So the queen is usually the alpha female in a hyena clan, the queen hyena, and then when she gives birth, she will have a princess, and that princess will then be looked after by the clan and will then most likely take over from that queen when she eventually dies, unless it's that young hyena is still too young. Then there will be another female in place that will take that role as queen if something happens to the I suppose you could call it the matriarch of the clan. But yes, it is passed down through birth. So speaking about these the royalty of the Queen and the Princess, let's head across to the royalty of the Mara, James himself. Now the hyena is still standing guard over this carcass. We've got some interesting little birds flying around here though. I wonder if we can see some flying closer to us. Some red-breasted swallows. Maybe, Senzo, can you see where they're... Senzo's extremely good at picking up birds in flight. Let's see, just above the tree. There we go, there we go. Well done, Senzo. Amazing. Red-breasted swallows. So we can add that to the list. Apparently I'm on 62. Now, I just saw some tweets yesterday that there was some confusion with the numbers, so when I get back I'll quickly sit and just have a look at the list and make sure there wasn't one being counted twice or anything. But Megan says she's completely right. She's totally right, she says. Now, also we've been chatting about the carcass and the bones, what benefits from it, but I mean, we were touching on basically just how the ground and the vegetation benefits from the carcass, not necessarily the animals. Now, I know some of you were sending in questions and comments about, but other animals benefiting like herbivores. Yes, they do. Animals like some of the antelope species, giraffe is a big one that benefits from a carcass, because what they do is they will also go and feed on the bones. That is known as osteophagia. That's the eating of bone, and they do that to gain the calcium and the phosphorus that is in the bones. So that is for the nutrients. Yes, we know all of that, but we weren't necessarily touching on that. As I said, so many animals benefit from the carcasses, but we were chatting about how a carcass or how the bones affect the soil in a specific area, and from what I've seen is it takes a long time for an area to recover after a carcass has been there, because there's been so much destruction from the animals moving around over that area, a lot of disturbance, and it takes a long time for the vegetation to grow there again. It's been really interesting sitting here, and we, it's something that we don't get to see that often. I don't know when last I saw this many vultures and hyenas interacting like this, so it's great. I'm going to sit here a little bit longer, but now Scott has managed to find a hyena in the Mara, and apparently it has also been feeding on something. Really large vultures flying in and out of this area. I'm just having a look at some of the whiteback vultures, some of the bigger ones with full crops. Obviously got more food than the others. But look how clean that carcass has been picked. There's almost nothing left. Yeah, Shannon, it is not a very pleasant smell, to be honest. It's not too bad for the moment because there is a bit of a breeze, but how can I describe it? You all know James is a lot better at describing the smells than I am. There's a whiff of rotten meat, lion feces. There's a thicker stench in the air. There's no way of making it sound pleasant. There's a thick stench in the air. It's definitely not something that is for the faint-hearted, I think. What do you think, Senzo? The smell? Not good, huh? Senzo's shaking his head. Not good at all. I'm sure these hyenas are going to move off eventually because there's nothing really left for them to pick on. The vultures with their sharp beaks will be able to get in between those bones and really get the last little bits of meat. Campy, now I actually have no idea. You asked if the hyena tongues are rough or smooth. I don't know. I would assume they're also a little rough. I do think so. But I don't know to what extent. I don't know how rough. I know leopard and lions are tough. I've seen them licking carcasses and trying to clean kind of hair and open carcasses just by licking. But I don't know about the hyena. I would assume so. I would definitely assume they've got rough tongues. But I just don't know how rough. It'd be interesting if anybody can find something on that. Let us know. But I'm sure it is also pretty rough. I was thinking that the cloud cover was going to burn off a bit, but it hasn't really. It is still overcast. Yeah, maybe that's the one, Senzo. I think you're right. That one hyena that is looking a little pregnant. I'm not sure. Possibly. That's a big belly. We'll keep an eye on her. We've been chatting about the rough tongues of the predators. Let's head to someone with a sharp tongue, Mr. James Hendry. Much James, and I think we're probably going to end off with these wonderful vultures waiting patiently to get a bit of this carcass. The hyena is still roaming around, just trying to pick off every last morsel they possibly can. But look at that hyena, definitely. I'm trying to see if I can see any sign of, you know what? It does look like I can see teats on that hyena. So I wonder, I think that hyena might possibly be pregnant. Was it Ghost Chooser or Ghost User? You asked what is the lifespan? Ghost Chooser, the lifespan of hyena. Now, I think the lifespan of hyena is possibly also around 15 to 18 years. I'm not sure now. Now I'm trying to think. I think it's somewhere around there. I will actually double check that when I get back to camp later and just find out exactly what I can get from some sources about the lifespan of hyena. But what a really wonderful, wonderful morning again. Bit of rain this morning on Djuma, which is always welcome. We had lions in the Mara. We had Serval with Scott, which is amazing. We've had the Hyena and Vulture activity. The lions are still around, the males. We heard them calling. We saw them earlier. So there's still a lot going on right here in Djuma, as well as the Mara. And James mentioned the river cams too. So we'll see you all this afternoon again on our sunset safari. Don't forget to join us again. And thank you very much, James and Scott in the Mara, and the ladies in the final control, Rebecca and, of course, Megan. And again, happy birthday, Taylor. Hope you have a great day. And thank you all of the viewers. We'll see you later this afternoon. Goodbye, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.